Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Fitness Roundtable. My name is Dion, and I'm joined here today with Phil and Andrew. Today, we'll be discussing training versus exercising for health and non-performance goals. But to start us off, we're going to switch it up today because Phil says we act too much like businessmen on a personal training podcast. So he just wants to have us kind of change the flow of the podcast a little bit today, which is, I agree with him. Right, Andrew? How'd you feel about that one?
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I can agree with that. So, Phil, drop some knowledge. What did you want to switch it up to?
Basically, we're actual bros talking, but I feel like we always start off as if we're just coworkers, just here's what we're talking about. What do you think about the topics? So, we got on just a few moments ago, basically how was y'all's week? I think we didn't record last week, so it's been about 2 weeks, enjoying the cooler fall weather.
I'm all right, man. Last week was kind of hectic for me.
Yeah.
I just had a lot going on. And the switching, we were trying to do the podcast. What was it? It was Friday, and then you're can we do it tomorrow? Yeah. And I was tomorrow I'm booked up. I had tournaments and stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my week's been going all right. I was sitting and I was thinking about what am I doing with my fitness journey, and how what are the pros and cons that I'm doing, what am I doing right, what am I doing wrong. I kind of had some time to reassess what was going on, so I sat down and just wrote up a whole new exercise program because I was feeling a little lethargic, and I'm all right, I got into soccer again. It's pretty small time, but they're keeping it pretty good with the COVID stuff going on, so they're not allowing you into the building until 15 minutes before, and they're making sure that they sanitize everything before the next team comes in, and they're trying to limit the amount of people that come into the building at one time, so you're not around 60 people, the typical soccer or pickup basketball where there's just people standing on the sidelines yo, I got next. No, you don't have next.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I got back into some soccer and been crushing souls. My first game back after not playing for a year, I scored 2 goals with my left foot, and I'm not even left foot dominant, but
nice.
Yeah, I was hyped, man. Honestly, there's something about getting back into a sport that you love and just really just letting loose. And I was I did get body checked for the first time in a while, and I totally forget how aggressive I am as a human being, because it didn't make I don't know the word I want. He's I didn't want to punch the guy in the face or anything, but I got so fired up. I was who the hell do you think you're touching? Totally forgot what it was like. So it was a good week. I took some time off from streaming and whatever, trying to get my life back on track. And yeah, today, just looking forward to this. Got my Synergy kombucha, gingerberry.
Nice.
So,
you think you've acquired more of a taste for kombucha?
Not at all. I'm just trying to get us sponsored by kombucha.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'll take the hit.
I respect that hustle. Yeah.
I'll take that sponsorship from almost anything that I sort of enjoy. If I had to come on, Beck, I eat scrambled eggs every morning. We're sponsored by Eggland's Best. I don't care.
Yeah, I would take that. Real food sponsorships only.
Yeah, I'll take. What do we say? Our sponsorship, we take any sponsorship if it's remotely reasonable. I'll take a
we're so yeah, we'll scrutinize supplements to the end of time, but anything else, whatever.
Yeah.
Yankee Candle wants to sponsor us. Fuck it, yeah, I'll take it.
You see my candle right here, bro? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, dude, I'll take
a
that.
Yankee Candle sponsorship.
Totally.
I'll take a hair tie
When I get
sponsorship.
back, yeah, well, a haircut sponsorship would be great. If I was getting free haircuts.
No, I was saying hair ties. Like
Hair tie.
Oh, hair
I don't.
tie.
My hair is not that long. You can't tell. My camera's been messed up. I don't know if it's my computer or what, but the video never comes through on the podcast. But you can kind of see that my hair is like pretty long on top, but not nearly long enough for a hair tie.
bro, I'm gonna put you guys onto some game right now because you both are high level personal trainers. You need to have a pack of hair ties in your gym bag at all times. Reason being is how many times have you been in the gym and the girl next to you breaks her hair tie and you can go, hey, here's a hair tie. Or your client breaks their hair tie and you just have a hair tie for them. And they're like, wow, that's really thoughtful. And it's the small things that count. I always have a pack of Band-Aids, 2 packs of sugar, and hair ties in my bag.
That's what you get for dating a girl personal trainer.
No, I had this before her, so this was Phil, how's your week been, boss?
It was pretty good. I took like the end of last week off from lifting. I think it was either Monday and Tuesday, and then I took the last few days off so I could do like a self like race. It's like I don't want to call it a race because it was just me on my own. And time trial isn't a word that a lot of people are used to, but like I raced a 10K just like from my house down, to by the pier and Hoboken and then back, and I did really well. But it's like the we had this conversation about the deadlift record. It's like if it's not set in a competition, you got to kind of put an asterisk by it. So like, I know I got a best time, but like there's still so many other factors that like I use it as a marker to say like I'm in like a better shape than I was the last time I did this race, but like I'm not gonna call it an official time. But other than that, work's been going pretty well. Our new house, we've been here for about a month now, and it's like we're like 98% unpacked and decorated pretty well. Organization's getting under control, and our routine is getting a little better, and work's going pretty well. Gym's feeling pretty good. Everything's going okay.
I love that.
What was your time?
It was 43:18. So it was like
that's pretty quick.
43:18 for what was this now again?
A 10K. So it was like a 6:55 pace.
And for those who are listening who don't know what a 10K is, how many miles is a 10K?
Ooh, 10K is like 6.25 miles.
That's
so it's funny because that's like one of the shortest. Like I have been racing mostly marathons and half marathons for like years, and maybe I'll do like a 5K like every year, but like compared to a half marathon to marathon, I'm like ooh, I'm doing a shorter race with a 10K, but it's completely different. How about you, Andrew? How was your week?
It was good, man. Started a new job doing landscaping now, which is pretty cool because our area in New York, you don't really landscape in October, November, December.
No, you don't, yeah.
So I've been doing that, and then signed up for a meet, actually. Monday is 21 weeks out from a meet in Pennsylvania. I can't remember exactly where, but yeah, so I'll be training for that now, which will be cool because training for a meet and just training in general for me at least is 2 completely different mindsets.
Oh,
yeah, definitely. I get that. Training without like a specific upcoming goal is really hard for me. I've been trying to like my in the gym training has been different recently because I've just been trying to like back off. I've been trying to like mix it up here and there, and not with any like upcoming goal, just trying to like monitor my progress as time passes. And it's so much harder to like make sure a workout gets done. You still have a coach, right? How's your like, have you already started like planning out your like season, I guess you could call it?
I have 2 more weeks of the month that we had before I started with the meet. I talked to him. He's like, yeah, just finish this next 2 weeks out and then we'll go from there. Because 21 weeks out is still pretty far along. So you don't really have to get too crazy too quickly, but just pretty much working on work capacity stuff, which for people that don't know what that means, it's like you can be really good at doing reps, like 10 reps or 20 reps, but you could be really good at doing 10 reps every minute on the minute for 10 minutes,
Mhm.
like your work capacity, that's different than being good with just reps. But so yeah, we're doing some work capacity stuff because I'm out of shape because of COVID and I didn't do anything. And yeah, after that, yeah, we'll probably start getting pretty cool. I don't know what we have planned.
Do you have like a set goal for this already, or are you waiting for a while to see like how you progress?
I always set goals before a meet prep,
Mhm.
and I definitely think I'm going to take my nutrition a lot more serious this time. I take water a lot more serious. Like before, it was more of just like getting the workouts done and then eating as much as I can.
Yeah.
But some days when you don't feel like eating, you don't eat as much, and so I'm working on being a lot more consistent. So I don't know where my numbers will be and how quickly they'll jump back up to where I was pre-COVID. But if everything was the best day ever, I would hit a 440 squat, between 275 and 295 bench, and then a 440 deadlift.
Cool. Are those like? Are you aiming for big PRs? I think you did almost 400 on the squat, right?
Last meet I went to, I did 402. I think it was just barely over. I think it was like 182.5 kilos.
Yeah, I think that's wrong. Like just over
2.2.
It's like 402.375.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's something crazy. So I hit that in the squat, and I hit 264 again in the bench, which I was heartbroken, bro. I wanted to hit 275 so bad, but I missed my first attempt at 264, and so just to kind of save my total, I went 264 again, and then hit it, which was good. And then I hit 430 in the deadlift. My meet before that, I hit 440. I think I could hit more than a 440 deadlift, but we'll see. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be competing conventional or sumo yet.
Interesting. We were talking a little earlier today about how you're switching federations just for just for this meet, and that if they're going to have like different weight classes, and that you're going to be at a weight class that's like in between the ones you did. You did a weight class that was, I think you said it was like a 205 and a 230 weight class, and this time you're going in a 220 weight class. Do you think that's going to like affect your performance, trying to be like at a different weight on meet day?
Before Dion started his 8-week like weight loss challenge, which ended up being my 8-week weight gain challenge, I was sitting around like 218, 219. And so the USAPL, they go kilos. So 97, I believe, is the weight class that I was competing at my first meet, which was 205 pounds. And then I went into my next meet at 207. So I was just heavy enough to not be in the 97 kilo weight class. I was in the 105 kilo weight class, which I think is like 231 or 232. Yeah. And then the USPA, they go with pounds. So it'd be either 198, 220, or 242. And I don't think I'll be weighing anywhere close to 242 pounds.
That's a lot of weight.
So it's a lot of weight. And so it's definitely heavy. I mean, maybe next year we'll see. Because if I can sit around 225 and then just cut a couple pounds, because the USPA also does 24-hour weigh-ins, not 2-hour weigh-ins.
Oh yeah, that's not bad.
So so I can come in at 220, and then actually weigh like 225, 226.
I know.
Depending on how well I weight cut. So
it's terrible. Like I know a lot of people who do that. Like they'll sit at like 235 or something and somehow like drop to like 220 and then in 24 hours they gain like 10 pounds. It's like
that sounds like some terrible dehydration.
It is bad, and that's why like they dislike doing the 24-hour weigh-ins. And same thing with like UFC fighters. They've been kind of trying to cut that, because UFC fighters will come in weighing like some insane amount more, like 10 to 15 pounds heavier than when they fight. And they just, because it's 24 hours, so they just dehydrate themselves to nothing, can barely walk, just stand on the scale, and then they go rehydrate with like IVs and stuff. and they're just like they're back to normal. Like, and you don't need that long to like feel okay after and 24.
There's a couple of documentaries about that on YouTube that I watched. There was one fighter that dropped like 30 something pounds before a fight, and he ended up not being able to fight because like he just couldn't get his dehydration. Like he was doing all these crazy things in this hotel in order to drop weight, and he just looked like shit, and he was getting shaky and couldn't sleep, and it was like I wouldn't want to do it. I never condone weight cuts unless they're like a 5-pound weight cut. That's fine, maybe even 10 pounds, but anything above 10 pounds, you're getting really dangerous at that point.
I mean, like the way they do it is so reckless. And that's like the thing. It's whenever you put large sums of money involved into some stuff like this, and like that's when it gets bad. But I do approve of like making weigh-ins like a couple hours before, because then that definitely de-incentivizes people from doing those drastic weight cuts. Like you said, you're gonna come in like lose like 3 pounds before, and you're like, all right, like that's fine for me. And that's really hard for some people. Then that like makes them go in their like true weight class. Like you can't be a 270-pound person and then drop to like the 220 weight class, and then like next thing you be like, bro, you're 300 pounds. Like, this is that's nuts, though, man. I'm hyped for you. I really am.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
If you're
document most of it on my Instagram.
If the weight classes are in pounds, are the lifts in pounds still, or are they in kilos?
I believe they're in pounds.
Cool, interesting. I wonder why the two federations, one does pounds, one does kilos. I wonder if there's like a reason for that. Yeah,
the USAPL wants to be recognized internationally.
Okay.
And so that's why they do kilos. And then the USPA is just the United States Powerlifting Association, so they fucking run it in pounds.
Oh, that makes
sense. Can you
sense.
qualify for the international meets through USPA?
I don't. That's a really good question.
Y'all ready to get into these topics?
I'm so ready to get into all topics.
Ready.
I am so
I'm not ready for all of them.
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of got into the first one about training for exercise and competition a little bit.
Yeah, we're already kind of talking about it.
Like I was thinking about that when you were talking about like not feeling like you're trained for your like training for a meet is different than training just to train. And it reminded me of another personal trainer like checked me, and not like really like actually checked me, but kind of like brought it to my attention. I was like, man, I'm slacking so much. I'm like, I only hit the gym like 4 times this week. Like, he goes, bro, like for an average person, like 2 times going to the gym is like very good. I'm like, stop. I'm like, no, what are you talking about? And then I like sat back and thought about it. I was like, you're right. Like I'm over here like being mad upset because like I'm used to training like 5 days a week. And the average person doesn't need to even train anywhere near that. Like just training for health, you could just once a week is good. You know, getting activity in your daily life is good. And you don't need to have like these extravagant goals. Like, and we were like talking about this before the podcast too, how we like talk about our like competition goals and stuff. Like I tend to forget that my mindset as a person of like training 5 to 6 days a week is so totally different than what is necessary or recommended. You know, like you just need a minimum of like 150 minutes of exercise in a week. And that can be done multiple times throughout a week. That can be done one time in a week. It just depends on your schedule, what you're doing. Like if you're exercising for your health, find something that you like to do, enjoy, and then add it into like a habit forming instance, you know, like go to the gym. If you have a trainer, somebody like a friend that you like to work out with. I mean, I personally don't like to work out with friends because I don't, like we were talking about work rate. I can't train with somebody else. I like to move through all my exercises relatively fast. So like knowing your type of program is important, I feel. And I always listen to sad music. Like what kind of music do you guys listen to when you work out? Like I'm listening to like Ray J and like Party Next Door and like Mozart and shit. Like literally the most somber music. Like you take my headphones off and it's about how like someone broke up with me, like Usher's. Like, and my friends are like, yo man, I want to listen to some like rock. And I'm like, can't we just listen to like Mary J. Blige like crying over some piano? Like
I do love Mary J. Blige. She's got a beautiful voice.
Yeah, if you don't like her, you don't have the soul.
Yeah. But yeah, do you guys have like a specific like music that you listen to like before we get deep into this?
I mean, I know the most generic answer ever is that I listen to everything, but I listen to a lot of like underground rap,
Okay.
like Aesop Rock or Atmosphere, and then I also listen to a lot of like heavy rock, like punk, old punk, fucking. There's a bunch of different stuff, man. I don't know. Like sometimes I want to go in and just bob my head to a really nice rap beat. Other times I want to get angry and just listen to people yell at me.
That's awesome.
So it just depends on the day, I guess.
Yeah, in the gym, I don't really try to listen to music because the gym that I work at and also do my workouts in has music playing usually. So I've tried before, like putting headphones in over the music that's playing, and it just gets too noisy, and I can't really think very much. But when I like go other places, or the music's not as loud, or I'm going for runs, usually I like I rotate between like electronic dance type music, not just like club music, but like I like the kind that the like bouncy kind of happy kind, not the like hard like do 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 do, but like the
Yeah.
a lot of the more modern, cheerful, happy electronic. And then I also like you, Andrew. I like some like not as famous rap music, like MF Doom and Hieroglyphics and some stuff like that. And then sometimes I honestly just like I'll look some stuff up when I'm like I'm feeling in the mood of like being in control, but sometimes I just let Spotify decide. I'm like, all right, what's one of the playlists of the week, and then I just choose one of those and don't think about it too much.
You are playing a game of high risk there, Phil. Letting Spotify choose for you.
Sometimes I like to listen to podcasts while I'm running too, but only when I'm like able to think well enough. If I'm like real tired, I gotta switch to music because I can't like process what I'm listening to.
I feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to one podcast once, and it was about Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's a clinical psychologist. And over the past like 6 months, he's been like highly depressed and trying to go through like a benzo withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first podcast I listened to is this one. I'm in the gym, and he starts talking about like all these awful side effects of depression, and I just got really sad. So I stopped listening to the podcast. I don't want to think that hard. I just want to listen to music.
I get that. There's a lot of days where I'm just like I need something to tune out and just vibe to.
Yeah, I just feel like when I'm in the gym, it's my temple of relaxation, and I don't like to be angry when I'm in the gym. I don't know why. Like even my best lifts are never from being like upset. Like I'm not the type of person where I can like walk into a gym and be like, all right, I'm so pissed off today, I'm gonna like just throw around weight, and then like next thing I know, I like tear my rotator cuff because I'm angry. Like the best lifts I've ever got, I just like kind of walked in and like, all right, today's been a good day, but I'm just gonna relax. And I'm like, oh snap, like I just hit like my max on my squat. This is awesome. So
yeah, I feel like people who they do that like getting angry thing, like there's nothing wrong with like having a pump up kind of routine and trying to like psych yourself up, but then like the days where I have the best lifts or like feel the best are never predictable, and if I like try to force it, I feel like it's always like, I don't want to say it's a letdown, because sometimes it I try to lift heavy and it goes well. But other times it's like, if you try to psych yourself up too much and it's just not the day, I mean, you got to like feel it out a little bit. I told the story a few weeks ago when we were recording an episode about a guy in my gym who grunts before, during, and after his sets. And not just like, but like scream grunting over by the preacher curl station. And dude, it's just like, like, are you having a good time? Calm down. I don't know. Like, aren't we coming here to enjoy ourselves?
Awesome.
Not him.
Not him. No.
He's avenging a death somewhere.
Jeez. I believe it.
He lost in his World of Warcraft account. Now he's angry.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know. I've always been one to get pretty hyped before lifts, but I've never been the one to like get angry at anything.
How hyped is
I
hype?
definitely like yelling though. How hyped is hype? I don't know. Pretty hyped. Well, my Instagram has some pretty good ones where I get pretty pumped up. But it's typically when I'm by myself in the gym. I don't like the gym's packed. I'm not sitting there grunting and groaning about
Have you ever
me working
screamed in
out.
the gym? When
Absolutely.
there's more than one person in there?
One time on accident I did. I was at Perth Fitness and I didn't realize that there was someone who lived above the gym.
Oh my God.
And so it was like 5:00 in the morning and I went to go hit 405 for 3 in the deadlift. Got it up for 2, and then I just started getting fucking all sorts of yelling and shit. Started yelling, ended up not hitting the rep, and then this guy comes downstairs all fucking red-eyed and confused and why there's someone yelling at the gym at 5:00 in the morning. And then another time I got myself all hyped up and I ended up taking off my shirt because I thought I was by myself and I wasn't by myself.
Oh, wow. Damn.
So that was embarrassing, yeah.
I'm dead. That's actually... I've
I
been
think
screamed in a gym before, hardcore. Like
I don't get that intense when I lift. Like even when I'm trying to like, go for something pretty heavy or max, like I just like I get all like I get hyped up and psyched, but it's all in my head. I just like, I try to like not think about it too much and just like focus on like the lift itself, but I don't get like scream or like grunt kind of angry. I think that this leads pretty much into like the topic we're talking about pretty well, about how like, we're talking about like getting really intense and hyped up and yelling before lifting, but like that whole idea is something that like most people who go to gyms would be like, why would you ever do that? I just want to like be healthy. Like, if we're talking about someone, just trying to like lift because it's good for you, like this kind of like high intensity, screaming stuff is probably like a put off for them. So like the idea of like intensity, but also like how to train for someone who wants to go to the gym but doesn't like care about maxing out or anything like that. What are y'all's thoughts on like different like approaches to training those people, like as trainers, but also like tips for those people like if they don't want to have a trainer?
I would say like tips for training. Like as a trainer, if you have a client who doesn't have a high competition goal, or they're just training because they understand that they have some health risks, I would say this is like the moment where you kind of have to take a step further as a trainer and get to know them a little bit more as a person. They're the things that they enjoy, the reason why they got into this. I've been trying to do this now as a trainer more recently, is like just like getting their feelings on what brought them to me. Like, hey, how did you feel when you were like looking for a trainer? Were you nervous? Did you have anxiety? Like, did you feel okay? Was this hard for you to do? Did like a friend pressure you into doing this? Did your parents tell you you needed to get this? Did you feel some form of like body conscious? Is that why you did this? And just get an understanding of, maybe it's a little bit deeper than just like, because I feel like at the face value, it's like, oh, you want to get in better shape. Well, is that because you feel negatively about your body? Or is that because someone pressured you into doing this? Is that because you think this is the right thing to do? So you kind of get a feel for that and like just kind of move through it, like understand you as a person. And maybe your goal for health is just like you saw like a parent have emphysema or diabetes and you don't want to be like that. So then you understand like, all right, well, we're going to give you just, some basic exercises to keep your body moving, to keep your body functioning. Maybe they understand that exercise is important for their job. Maybe they're a landscaper and they know that proper lifting technique is important. So maybe you don't even have to emphasize on doing, exercises to build strength, just proper lifting techniques and teaching them proper techniques on how to move weight or move their body. Maybe their job, they're sitting at a desk and you're like, all right, well, here, we're going to work on posture. We're going to work on your core. And by delving into them as a person, then you get insight into modifying their programming in a way that is specific to them, that might not even be about lifting weights. Like I've had a client before who they were a dancer and they didn't want to really build a lot of muscle, but they needed to work on, accessory groups like their shoulders and their hip flexors. and they were hyper flexible. So I had to like delve into like what it was like to be a dancer, like what exercises that might improve, their balance, their core strength. And it was very difficult because I feel like dancers are one of the strongest people in the world. They're so body conscious. Their body is super strong because they're constantly moving it. So it's one of those things, like as a trainer, that is very important. And if you're just an average person who understands that your health might be declining because of non-exercising, I would say, just try to like figure out a few exercises that you like to do, maybe contact a trainer or, like I said before, work out with a friend and do things that make you feel good. Like you don't have to do bicep curls or, squats if you don't like to, but like maybe doing leg press is something that you can do and it doesn't hurt you and doesn't cause you any pain. And it's something that you actively understand and you feel safe with. So maybe find something like safety in your exercises. I feel a lot of people try to do unsafe exercises like squatting or bench pressing because they think that's what they need to do. And like, you don't have to do that. You can use a chest press machine if you feel safe, So those would be my tips. Like I definitely feel as a competitive human being, I look past a lot of those things and I might not post that on my Instagram, which is why I love that Phil's been holding his Instagram down. Shameless Instagram plug for Phil. Like, I definitely do all the nonsense stuff. Like, oh, look, I did 5 muscle ups, or hey, look at me do this like clean and press. Like, not everyone needs to do that, So that's it for me.
I agree with that. Yeah, no, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head for mostly everything, because if you can take your life and make your workouts sport specific to your life, meaning if you want to be a grandparent who can pick up and play with their kids, you should work on some proper lifting technique. You should work on maybe some flexibility and mobility. If you want to be a power lifter, you should work with a powerlifting coach and work with a barbell quite a bit. If you want to be a runner, you should do running. But the people who don't want to compete necessarily, and I think there's a few different types of people. There are people who don't care about their health and they're not competitive. And those people probably aren't going to really work out no matter what, because they don't care about their health and they don't really care about competing. There's the people who care about their health but don't care about competing. And those are the people that I think need to find a way in the long-term sense of like time, in a way that you find enjoyable and is most beneficial for you. Like, I know a lot of people that I talk to really enjoy yoga. That's one way they find success in being healthy. That's awesome. I love it. And then there's the people who maybe like competing and don't care about their health. I'm kind of in that category, because I'm just more so a power lifter than a general health person. And I think I've made that pretty apparent in my diet in the past couple other podcasts. And then obviously there's people who are competitive and do care about their health. And those people probably do way better than I do, which is why I'm trying to be a little bit more conscious about my diet and consistency this next meet prep. But I think the biggest thing is just finding what you enjoy doing. That's like the number one step and the number one goal. If you enjoy doing it and it keeps you active, then that's perfect. You don't need to be doing anything crazy. You don't need to be doing muscle ups or like clean and presses, like you said. You can just do some really nice stretches and do some yoga or go for walks, runs maybe. And if you do happen to like resistance training, then that's great and awesome and the best thing for you.
That's funny.
I think that your like point about categorizing people was like it made a lot of sense, because I think about that a lot, about how there's that one category that doesn't come up that often, about like people who are so competitive that they aren't focused on health, that we think about people who like go to the gym or are very active as very health focused. But then sometimes people will bring up, like, what about, Eddie Hall or Brian Shaw's 12,000 calorie diets? Like, those can't be healthy. And, when you ask that question, it's like some people are truthfully sacrificing their health for their sport, like the NFL. Like, as much as no one in the NFL wants to, like, get hurt actively, like they know they're engaging in a very dangerous sport, that like the level of injury in the NFL is so much higher than, you know, the general population, and that like they don't, like their careers don't last very long, but like they compete because they make a lot of money and they enjoy competing. And you know, for most people around the world, that level of intensity in competition isn't very common. And then you also hit that, like, you know, there are people who you know, they want to be healthy, but they're not at all competitive in any way. They're just like, what do I do if I want to be healthy? And the way that you described the, like, just find something you like, that's like the first thing I tell almost anyone when, you know, I get the, like, the friend who's like, you know, I know you don't want to write a program, but like, what's the thing I should do? And I'll tell them, like, I don't like anything. Just do something that you'll keep doing. You know, the most optimal program in the world that you do for 2 months isn't going to beat the program or the, you know, the exercises you're able to do for 10 years. You know, we're doing all these competitive things because we enjoy them, but eventually we'll stop, and hopefully the habits of enjoying being at the gym won't stop. And that, you know, if you like someday ever stop powerlifting, and, you know, if I stop running, you know, racing for running, and, you know, I still enjoy the activities, and we all still enjoy what we do well enough to like stay doing them, that's much more important in the long run. That, like, you know, we're developing lifelong habits. And I think that, you know, I've been talking about this a lot with my coworkers and clients recently, that like it's much more important that you develop the habit of including physical activity and exercise somehow into your life than it is whether you pick to do chest press or push-ups or bench press or, you know, squats with a barbell versus a dumbbell. You know, all of these variations and how you do them, or, you know, running versus walking. I mean, doing something is so much better than doing nothing. And if you hate something but you think it's good for you, you know, you're probably not going to do it for very long. You know, adherence is much more important than selection of exercises. And I think about that in terms of like, when people ask about like running and stuff, it's like, yeah, you could run, or you could walk, or you could do yoga, or you could do, you know, classes, or, you know, just biking around town, or you could walk to work instead. You know, just getting some amount of activity instead of no activity is so much better. And then I think in terms of like stuff in the gym and resistance training, you know, the reason that I have my clients do things like squats and deadlifts isn't because I think that they should be trying to up their 1 rep max, or, you know, I want to instill a competitive spirit in everyone. But the reason for that is, and not to get on like the fads of, you know, whatever the word functional. But I think that doing activities that mimic daily living, if that's what we could define functional as, is really important. And, you know, this is how they test like physical function in the elderly. They just have them like be in a chair and stand up without using their arms, you know, a certain number of times in a minute or something like that. And, you know, I tell people, I'm like, you know, you should do some form of a squat. And, you know, if you absolutely don't want to, we don't have to. It's still important to work the legs somehow to, like, you know, develop lean muscle. But I recommend it because it's very much like daily living. It's like, you know, if you're sitting down and you get up, what is that? It's just a squat. And, you know, we should be comfortable doing things that, you know, mimic daily living. And any way you can find to work in those types of things, you know, a squat is like getting up from a chair. Deadlifts are like picking up your, you know, bags of groceries. You know, that's why I have people do those, because, you know, you do those types of activities in the gym so that they can get easier outside of the gym. And you can do them in any way at all. You know, it doesn't have to be with a barbell. You don't have to be a power lifter. Use dumbbells, use, you know, kettlebells, or like, you know, body weight, TRX, anything, honestly. And yoga is a great example, because yoga involves something that's very different from a lot of traditional gym exercises, because it involves a lot of like getting into a position that is sort of like a gym exercise, but then holding it in that position, which like when we do stuff like squats, we do like, whatever, like set of 3, set of 5, set of 10, but then like we're moving the whole time. But in yoga, like they get into this position that's like, you're stressing the muscles in like the legs or the arms or whatever, and then they stay there for like, 10, 15 seconds or whatever. And that like, it's a completely different kind of way to work the muscle, but it's still completely working the muscle, and it's a legitimate way to like, build muscle that way. I think one of our big things that we're all stressing is that like whatever you do is good as long as it's something.
Yo, did I share the story with you guys about my yoga? It's my first ever yoga experience.
I don't remember.
No.
Oh my God. All right. So this is off the record for those as when I was in college, we had all the trainers would come in and do like a 2-week like personal development, just kind of like hang out, learn stuff about the gym, learn stuff about like other trainers, and you just like hang out. So all the trainers and stuff moved in like 2 weeks earlier. And I went out and like went so hard and partied and drank the most alcohol I feel like I've ever drank in my life at this time. And the next day we had power yoga with this girl, Brittany. And big shout out to Brittany because she was a great yoga instructor. And she was really strong, and her sessions were intense. I didn't know this at first. So the next day I come into my first ever yoga.
Oh, you learned that day though.
I'm telling you guys, I was dead. I was in the middle of, it was like I don't know, where you're like in Cobra, but you're in like a half push up. You're not fully down to the ground. I was just holding that, and all of a sudden, like I started feeling dizzy, like I was about to like pass out. And I remember I stood up in the middle of the class with all the other trainers and stuff, and just power walked to the bathroom. I didn't even make it to the bathroom. I just sat next to the water fountain for a good like 5 minutes. I'm like, whew, okay, I can do this. I can go back in. Yeah, and then I ended up like getting some water, going to do the last thing, and I'm like, can I just do corpse pose for the rest of the session? She was like, yes, you can. I was like, all right, thank you so much. I was not feeling good.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was hard.
I dated a yoga instructor a while back, and she took me to someone else's class that was hot yoga. Have you ever done hot yoga?
No, I've just been hot in yoga.
Man, yeah. Well, I get sweaty in like normal temperatured rooms. Like if it's not like a little cold in a room, I'm gonna start getting sweaty. So it was like minimum 90 degrees in this room. Might have been hotter. They got these big heaters running, and the doors are like sealed shut. And it's like I knew going into it, she told me like, oh, we're gonna go do a hot yoga class with my my friend so and so, whatever, I don't remember. And I was like, okay, hot yoga, I'll get pretty sweaty. But like halfway through the class, not even like, I think it might have been 45 minutes long, so like maybe 20 minutes in, was already to the point where like the entirety of my mat was just like slick like a pool floor after a pool party. Like it was disgusting, and so much harder for the rest of the class because like I can handle a yoga class. Like I'm not that mobile or flexible, but like I can sort of keep up as long as it's not like too power yoga-y like that. Like I'm not that good at yoga, but like I was sweating so much that like I couldn't even like put my foot somewhere, or else it would start slipping out from under me. But actually my brother is a yoga teacher, and he is fantastic. And I took a class with that girl I was dating once that she taught, and she was a good yoga teacher too. Like I give props to people who do yoga because it's very hard. It's not something that I do, and I respect people who are good at yoga. It's hard.
Yeah. I just wanted to address something too, because Andrew said it, you said it, and I touched on it a little bit, but we were like speaking on how like finding something that works for you and do it. In this age that we live in now, there's so much that like you can do and try to gain like just some form of exercise. Like if you're like Andrew said, you might be a competitive person, but you don't care about health. Well, I remember there was like Orange Theory Fitness, and I went and I applied there and I took a class, And that was really cool. They showed the numbers of people's heart rates and like how many calories they were burning on a big screen, and it showed everybody in the class, and it showed your like age bracket that you were in, and you were like competing in the class against other people to get like Orange Theory points.
Huh.
So it was a really sick idea, because like now, like if you were a competitive person, you could get on the row machine and go like extra hard and try to like increase your caloric expenditure. Or I know there's like yoga and goats, where people go do yoga with goats, you know?
Yeah.
Or like they have the bubble soccer, where you just run around and smash people in big bubble suits. Is it a bubble suit, or is it like a big giant bubble like that goes over you, right?
I think that you wear part of it. Like it sits close to you so that you're protected by it. It's not like just a whole open bubble. But I've never actually done it.
I haven't done it either.
No.
But like that's what I was saying. Like we were saying before, find something you like to do. Like that's still exercise. Like there's so much stuff now that you can do that's classified as exercise. Zumba, like break dance, hip hop dance class. There's stripper pole classes. Like, like there's so much. And if you can just find one thing that, even if it sounds goofy, like benching with cats, like you just go into a place and there's just a bunch of cats. And like, please don't steal that. If that's not a thing, we should do that. Andrew, you should make powerlifting with cats. And it's just like, there's just cats all around the gym.
That sounds so dangerous for the cat.
Well, if they're strong, then it's not dangerous.
You gotta have that flat back, that cat back.
Yeah, downward, no downward dog here, just straight up
downward cat.
Downward. That's one. So, Andrew, do you want to tell us the time where you were the most sore after a workout?
Dude, honestly, they're both from high school soccer.
Let's hear it.
First time ever really hitting the gym was my freshman year of soccer. And I remember I got partnered up with Ethan Miller. And we were doing like a back and bicep workout. And I was trying to compete with Miller, who was, I think, he's 2 years older than me?
Right? That was my grade.
Either way.
So,
yeah.
I think so. We were 2 years.
Yeah. And so he was way stronger than I was. And I'm sitting here just doing these curls with him. And then the next day, like I had chicken wings. I couldn't like extend my arms past 90 degrees. And then another time, which is as comparably as sore, I was, I think, doing like a swim practice dry land in high school. And it was core. And the next day I woke up and I looked like a turtle walking around, because I literally couldn't like fully stand up straight because my core was so tight. Like I felt like I pulled muscles like all throughout my whole core.
Jeez.
So that was just me being an out of shape high schooler doing in shape stuff.
And then
she got smoked.
And I think Miller, you're being weaker than Miller now. It's like no form of strength training.
Yeah, he smoked me, dude. Dude, he's doing fucking some crazy shit marathon wise though.
He really is. He's hard.
He's doing some cool stuff.
What about you, Phil? What's the worst soreness you've ever been, or the worst time for you?
So I have one example that's very similar to yours, Andrew, but I'll give the other one first. So when I moved from Albuquerque to Houston, it was the fall of 2018. So I moved into this apartment complex, and it was like a very hectic time, and we were moving into a new place, new city. And the apartment complex had a gym, so I told myself I would use the gym there. And I went maybe twice a month for like 6 months, and I was barely doing anything when I did it. And I was sort of keeping up with running, but I fell off for a little while, and I think I was injured like right before we moved. I had been basically like taking a lot of time off from the gym. And what happened was, at one point I finally was like, all right, I'm going to start researching. I'll find myself a gym to go to, because using the one in the complex is not working. They didn't have that much equipment anyway. So I found a place eventually, but there was one time I visited this gym that was like way further away, because I was looking for a specific thing that I eventually, I was trying to find like a gym where like there'd be really serious lifters, because I wanted motivation. But this place I went to was like half an hour away anyway, so I ended up not going there. But my first time back, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this many sets of squats, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna work up to this weight. And both of those, the sets, the reps, the weight that I picked, it was completely arbitrary. I didn't know as much then, because it was like right before I started trying to learn a lot more about, training and stuff, because it was right before I started getting certified. So it was like late fall, maybe it might have been even like wintertime, 2018, 2019. And I go to this gym and I don't even remember exactly what the workout was, but I did squats and I must have been sore for like 5 days afterward, like go to walk and my leg locked up. And it was so bad, because I was like, oh yeah, I can train the same way I used to train, right? Like, a whole bunch of sets of squats and, as heavy as I can go for this many reps, even though I had been barely training for like 6 to 8 months. And now I know so much more about how like that was way too much for the first day back. And, that's the thing that did me in there. I was sore for like a week. I could barely walk. And then the other example that I have that's so similar to yours, Andrew, is that the amount of core work that high school swimmers have to go through is just wild. I remember specifically not even what we would do. It would just be so much of the kind of thing where you're on your back and you doing like flutter kicks or, leg lifts and stuff. So much of that. And then we were also doing like, planks or sit-ups, bicycles, just like that kind of stuff. And like, more options for like, oh my God, 45 minutes of core. And the next day, it was never that. It was always like we would do it, and then it would be either after practice or, before practice. And I wouldn't notice it as much that day. But it was always the next day where I'd be like sitting in my desk at school with like the desk part attached to the chair. And I would be like laying back trying to like write. And then I'd like go to sit up to like look at what I just wrote. And I'd realize like, oh, wow, I can't sit up right now. And I'd have to like use my arms to like pull on the desk instead of like actually sitting up. So those are my two examples of the most sore I've ever been.
That is nuts. That's funny that you guys had like the same swimmer story. Mine, I only have one instance where I was ever so like the sorest I've ever been in my life. And this was, I was 18. And my cousin's husband used to do MMA training. I think he still does it, but he might, I don't know if he does it anymore. But he took me, it was like Sunday at like 3:00, right? So I got all ready. Like I put on my like fit athletic gear. I go to do this MMA training. And the time makes for a big difference. So we train for like an hour or like 2 hours. And in this training, I'm getting like slammed and just like thrown around. I was like probably 150 pounds, and they didn't have like a weight class switch where it's like, oh, you train with people and like your weight class. They like, nah, we're old school. We're going to grapple with people who are like 100 pounds heavier than you and stuff.
Oh my God.
So I'm just wrestling like people who are like 100 pounds to like 250. And at one point we were doing a drill, and I always say I've never felt true exhaustion, but I got slammed on the ground. I couldn't stand up. The coach is like yelling at me. He's like, are you just going to lay down in a fight? And I go, I don't think I can even physically stand up. Like, I've never been that exhausted in my life. So mind you, like I go through this whole workout. Then we did like conditioning after. It was the most intense like hour and a half of my life. I get home probably at like 5:30. My mom asked me, she goes, hey, D, do you want like a sub from Subway? I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'll take a sub from Subway. I'm like, I'm going to go lay down for a little bit. So I lay down, I wake up, which I thought was 2 hours later at 6:30, but it was actually 6:30 a.m. the next day. I slept from like 5 p.m. to like 7 a.m. the next day. And I get up and I'm eating this sandwich, and I'm like, I can't move my body. I'm like, I almost feel like I can't move my body. So I'm laying in bed like, I got to get up and eat. Like I'm so hungry. And I physically couldn't move my body. So my mom like wakes up and she's like, she comes and she's like, hey, it's time for school. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Time for school? Like, dude, you got to go to your classes. Like, I'm like, what time is it? She's like, I was like, isn't this like 7 p.m.? She goes, no, dude, it's the next day. You've been sleeping for like 18 hours. I literally just passed out and like almost slept a whole day. Just literally died. Body hurt. And it was because it was like in the winter months. So it got dark out earlier. So like I personally thought it was like 6 p.m., but it was the next day.
That must have been so disorienting. I've had that happen before with like when you nap and it's like it's light and then it's dark and you're like, what day is it? I don't even know what's going on.
Bro, my body was in so much pain, like literally every single muscle. I couldn't move my head left or right. Like my legs, my knees were sore. I felt like a typical old man.
Oh man.
So that was the sorest I've ever been in my life. And that was the most disoriented I think I've ever been in my life. So it was a 2-for-1 special for me.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? That was a fitness roundtable with Andrew, cavemanbarbell.com, Phil, yosstraining.com, and Dion, activegamerfitness.com. The roundtable is more of a discussion than anything. We hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe. Stay fit, stay strong, stay educated.